The removal of Brownbridge, Boardman, and Sabin dams will result in the restoration of over 3 miles of cold water stream, 253 acres of wetlands, and 57 acres of upland habitat, the most comprehensive dam removal and river restoration project in the history of the Great Lakes. It'll be important that the public understands is that it's going to look worse before it looks better. As we dig the new channel in the upper part of the delta to control the amount of sediment that is transferred downstream, when the construction and the heavy equipment is in there, it's going to look worse. So we have to have the patience and the long-term vision of what it is going to be ultimately, and that's going to be a natural river, fast-flowing river, and a healthier river. From a recreational standpoint, the Boardman River is going to become a highly sought-after river to paddle and fish. And because the dams really impacted the river from a cold water trout stream and also from paddling.
Here at Brownbridge Pond, you can see the effects of two different drawdowns. One in 2008 that was an emergency drawdown of approximately 3 feet, leaving the delta area to the east end of the pond exposed. That's the area that's vegetated over, and now we have drawn down since September 19th, 2011 to present another 5.8 feet, and the result of that drawdown you can see by the relatively fresh sediments deposited at the east end of the impoundment. The Grand Traverse Conservation District has placed signage and will continue to place signage around Brownbridge Pond as we progress. The signage will be educational and safety concerns. The safety concerns are that folks stay off the soft bottomland as the drawdown occurs, because you can get quite muddy, and you could also wind up stuck in a situation where it might affect yourself or someone around you or a pet. The project is slated for 2012 through 2018, restoration through 2018. Brownbridge Dam removal is scheduled for June of 2012 with Sabin Dam shortly thereafter, hoping that the permitting process moves forward in the direction we would like it to. Certainly the steepest sections of river in the Lower Peninsula are located beneath Boardman and Sabin dams. It'll be really interesting to see how that develops. Here at the East Overlook, we installed some time-lapse cameras, and they take photograph about every 3 minutes for several hours a day. And we've been taking the photos since drawdown occurred September 19th, and we are planning on taking photographs through the entire project so we can document how the changes occur and really try to understand how the river will seek its original path, or what the river will look like as it does seek its original path. At the West Overlook, which is about the middle of Brownbridge Pond, and as the camera looks to the east, we can see the sinuosity or the curves that develop as the pond is drawn down. We can see the river waters seeking the natural path that it had flowed through before the impoundment was in place. You can actually see the curves of the river coming back in as you look to the southeast here. It's really interesting to see it come back to life. And as you pan to the south, there are terraces, and those terraces are the result of the drawdown. There are 6 inches. We were allowed to draw down 6 inches a day, a total of 6 feet in this drawdown, but each 6-inch drawdown created a small little terrace with wave laps on shore. As you continue to look to the west, you can see the dam powerhouse structure, which is also located very near the original location of the channel of the Boardman River. We're now at Lone Pine Trailhead, the observation deck. we can see the resultant whitewater of the nearly 13-foot drawdown that occurred here several years ago. As you look at the river channel, it's called incised, which means it's cut down through the sediment layer and has created itself a flume for the water to carry itself through. If you look at the base of the toe of the slopes, you can see where as the water carries itself through the channel, it'll cut the sides of the channel and they will slough. And when that material sloughs, it winds up at the toe of the slope and is usually carried away. After several years, you can see that the vegetation at the tops of the banks sloughs, continues to grow, and then creates its own little floodplain inside the incised river channel. So the river gets an area to kind of bang back and forth in, and when you have high waters, there's still it's not directly connected to the banks. It's not sloughing additional sediments into the water. It's starting to recreate its own floodplain. If you look across this vegetated area that looks like a big open field with herbaceous plants and shrubs and even some trees, at the base of the hill on the south side, you can see where the lake was originally, or the pond was originally. And there's a trail and some fence up across the other side that you can see that was on a terrace directly above the impoundment. Now, since the 13 feet of drawdown, the entire area has been exposed and revegetated, and you can see how fast it's coming back. Here at Sabin Pond overlook, we can see the powerhouse and the dam. The overlook doesn't show as much detail as over at Brownbridge, when you could really look up and down the stream. Sabin's been drawn down to the maximum level we can draw it down at this point through permit. And you can see along the shore remnants or the evidence of the drawdown, somewhat of a relatively similar angled slope that has not vegetated yet, and that's the degree of drawdown. At Sabin Pond, in the ensuing weeks, we'll be out doing some topographic, some reconnaissance, and also some topographic bottom mapping, looking for the original channel, the same process that we used in Brownbridge several months ago. This will be done by Amex design team, Interfluve. The idea is to understand where the river was previous to the dams, and then come up with a plan to get it as near that as we can following dam removal. There are actually two processes that might allow you to come up with a design for where that channel may be. What we're using on Brownbridge Pond is a 50-50. The approach would be 50% active and 50% passive restoration. By doing that, we would cut a channel through the sediment that will allow the river to seek the channel that we've mapped as its original course and try to get it in that channel as soon as possible, leaving the sediments in place. Same thing would happen at Sabin. And once you have the areas mapped, it allows the design team to come up with a concept that will allow you to put the river in a place where it'll cause the least amount of damage, which will allow the design team to allow the river to find its channel with positive effects and with minimizing the negative effects that may be seen in a more passive approach. And a passive approach would be remove the dams, let the river find its own course. And while it was doing that, it would be carving out areas that may or may not be its original location. Typically when a river carves or head cuts, it introduces sediment into the system. And if an active approach or a more active approach is used, the river is guided to the location that we've seen through design seems like a more stable location.
River systems are environments of constant change, as we know, and especially with the drawdown and removal of Brownbridge Pond and dam, The recent drawdown has really caused the formation of new rapids in the upper part of the pond, where the river is now reforming and recovering. Paddlers, as they float down, they're going to encounter rapids that's shallow, has a mucky, soft bottom, and also stumps are starting to emerge because the river's not in its original channel. So paddlers are just going to have to be aware that when they get into this section to either portage around this, where we have signs that recommend portage, or just be aware that they're going to encounter some obstacles in the form of stumps and muck. So paddlers just have to be aware to, one, travel in pairs, because if you do find yourself in a situation like that, the buddy system is always the best.